Hello, this is an interview for HOA. It is January 1st, 2018. Hello, Dad. Art Martini.
Hello, good evening.
You're making your time. Loud. Okay, so, Dad, when you usually discuss family with your parents, do you think more of your mom's side or your dad's side?
Both because they both came here from Hungary.
So they both had different stories?
They're both from the same hometown in Hungary, a little university town called Pécs, P-E-C-S.
So that's where we came from, huh? Peach?
That's where they came from, yes. The
And where
families.
did their parents come from?
Well, on my mother's side, they're Austrian, and my dad is Hungarian as far back as we know.
Okay, so, I mean, how do you know all this knowledge, you know? How do you know where they're from?
Uh, Speaking with my uncles and my parents, these lots of stories are passed down by word of mouth.
Word of mouth? Do you have any, like, family records or genealogy records?
Actually, we do. We have diplomas from my mother and my dad. My dad's law degree from Hungary, and my mom's teaching certificate. from
So,
Hungary.
your mom taught in Peach?
Yeah, she did. She was a school teacher.
And your dad?
He was a lawyer in Hungary.
So, how many generations can you trace back from your parents?
We'll have a family tree. I'm looking at it here, and it goes back about 5 generations.
5 generations? On what side of your family? Or is it both sides?
This is documenting my mother's side. I think my dad's side is documented somewhere as well.
So, any names that you... What's the oldest name on that list?
There's Mihai Gambas. My mom's maiden name is Gambas.
Your mom's name. Okay, and Mihai, when was she born?
Mihai is a male's name.
When was he born?
Mihai is Michael.
Okay.
So that's something like 1797.
And does it say where?
No, it doesn't. Hungary, somewhere in Hungary.
Hungary? Is it all Hungary? Hungarian? Or is there anything else?
No, this is all Hungary.
Okay. So, was he married?
Yes.
To?
Magdalene Eli Hyman, something like that. Can't read that right here.
Anyone, who's the oldest person that you know on that list?
Oh, that would be my mom's siblings. Her parents were deceased before we were born.
What happened to them?
My grandmother, I believe, was died of a stomach tumor or something like that. Actually, my mother's father was living at the time we were born. So, but it was in Hungary, and
You were born in Hungary?
no, I was born in the U.S.
He was in Hungary.
Yes, he was in Hungary.
What about your dad's parents?
And now my dad's parents, they passed before my dad emigrated to the U.S. in 1956.
How?
How did they pass? Well, they were working for the underground, and when the Russians came in 1956, they had a choice. Either they would be captured and go to prison, or they execute themselves, and they committed suicide. That was a choice they made.
So, were they veterans? Were they a part of the fight against Russia? The Nazis.
So they were
You're gonna have to explain.
part of the unofficial underground fighting against the Russian invasion in 1956. Before them, their parents, their dads all, yes, participated in World War II and World War I.
So do you want to give a brief synopsis of the Hungarian Revolution?
the Hungarian Revolution is the revolt. It was the Eastern Bloc countries were being invaded by the Russians. It was Poland first, and then down the line, the Czechs, the Hungarians, they all were invaded. The Russians won. They came in and they took over and set up legislature, knocked out the parliament, and they ruled until 1990s, I believe, something like that.
Until the Cold War ended, or
Yeah.
to the Soviet Union. So they okay. So any other veterans in the family? How many veterans were there? How many do you think there were?
Well, every male
Mhm.
went to a service. It was required to be in the service, much like the U.S. in war times. There's a draft here, and all males have to pay their time.
What happened to your mom's dad?
So my mom's dad, I believe, spent his ending last days in prison as well, but that was the Russians put him in prison.
Where? In Hungary?
In Hungary, yes. So he got out and then died a couple of years later.
What about your uncles?
My uncles were all in the service as well during World War II and fighting with the Germans.
With the Germans?
With the Germans, yeah.
Were they forced, or did they?
Yeah, it was.
They were forced.
Yeah, nobody chose to do that.
Any other stories that you know?
Well, the story that my parents are from the same hometown and their families knew each other, but my mom and dad didn't, run in the same circles. They came over here in the U.S. and my mom's brothers and my dad got together here, and then they introduced my dad to my mom, and that's when they officially began dating and then got married here in the U.S.
And did they live anywhere before they lived in New Jersey?
So they were they landed at Camp Kilmer in New Jersey, and then they were sponsored by different families. So my mom was sponsored by somebody in Wisconsin, so she had to fly to Wisconsin, and my dad was sponsored by someone on the East Coast. So they did spend time apart. So they landed here in 1956, and they got married in 1960. So in those 4 years, some part of that was apart. They were apart, and then they got together back in New Jersey. My mom finally came back to New Jersey, and then they got married in 1960.
Very interesting. Did they speak any English when they came over here?
Not when they landed, but none of them got jobs in what they were
Previously?
educated in, right? So my dad couldn't work as a lawyer without knowing English. So he went to work cleaning buildings, and my mom went to work in a manufacturing line, and slowly they accumulated some bits of the English language and survived that way.
So were you raised speaking English?
My first language was Hungarian, yeah. So in the house, from age 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, we spoke English. Hungarian. I didn't get to speak English until I went to school, which is kindergarten. So it was rough going for me.
Wow, very interesting interview. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Otto.